The one thing about gratitude that constantly amazes me is how fresh it is, how it is a moving attitude. It's not passive, it's very passionate. I use it in different ways. If you are struggling with a particular problem such as money or relationships or family or health, or if you concentrate to find something to be grateful for in that, if you concentrate to find something to be grateful for in that particular issue, it will open you up to the good that surrounds you. Now, this is the principle, folks. Give yourself over an idea to the good that you want. That's the important thing about gratitude. It's like opening a door and finding behind it treasures that you never even knew were in the house. It slows you down and stops the whining. The opposite of gratitude is whining. The opposite of whining is gratitude. And gratitude is one of those interesting things because you see, gratitude is what focuses you here. How often do we lament what has happened in the past or become anxious over what might be in the future? And when we do that, we're taking ourselves out of the here. And there is a principle in the universe that goes something like this. Ernest Holmes used to say there's a power for good in the universe, and we can learn to use it. I like to elaborate on that just a little bit and say there is a power for good in the universe. It is a manifesting power, and we do use it by focusing our attention, and that power flows to the focus of our attention. Think about that. So when you're giving yourself to worrying about what went on in the past and all the stupid things that you did, and you have all the blame and the shame and embarrassment associated with that, that's really great, isn't it? Because that's where your attention is going. It takes you right out of the only place where you can live, and that's right here, right now. Or to anticipate what's in the future and all that might happen, or all the good that might happen, or all the bad that might happen, or the stumbling blocks that might lie out there. But that pulls you right out of here. Again, this is the only place you can live. The principle we're talking about here is that we're going to attract what we focus our attention on, because this power in the universe that flows to the focus of our attention literally creates an attractive field that draws in according to whatever the thought conceptualization is. Is that correct? Thought concept is around it to produce accordingly. What we appreciate appreciates. What we despise also appreciates. It's the same principle. Gratitude and appreciation, I think they're among the most transforming energies that we have in our life. And it's kind of like an energy that almost surrounds us, but we are the generators of that energy. And indeed, it does surround us. We begin to generate gratitude. It's like we create this field of attraction, or we begin to generate real appreciation. It's the same thing as gratitude. We create that field. We begin to generate a field of limitation, and all we can experience is more of that limitation. Have you ever wondered why in some areas, and we can do this, we can compartmentalize it in our lives in various areas. We can have really wonderful health. We can have lousy relationships. We can have a good job, but we can be terribly unhappy in our friendships or whatever. And it's because we create these atmospheres. We have the choice on how we're going to direct our attention. Definition of gratitude that I wrote down here, kind of modified it to suit me. It is a consciousness, or it's a conscious process of becoming aware of all that life holds for us, and then acknowledging the gift. See how that ties in with the idea of the law of attraction. Like is going to attract like, an old idea. You know, so much around the law of attraction. People have written books on it. Ernest Holmes in his Science of Mind textbook has a chapter on the law of attraction. And you know, when The Secret came out a few years ago, it was The Secret. You're going to learn all these wonderful things and everybody's going to have it totally fulfill that. It was not a thing new in it. But it was wonderful because it woke people up. A lot of people that never even thought about some of these ideas. And they talked a lot about the law of attraction. But there's nothing new in it. What you gets is what you puts out there. Okay? And it'll always be that way. I've heard it said that gratitude equals wealth and wealth equals gratitude. And it's always been kind of a funny definition, but I kind of like it, and it gives me something to think about it. And what the idea behind this, I think, is that by feeling more grateful, you're going to feel more wealthy, and by feeling more wealthy, you're going to attract more of whatever it is that you seek in your life. Because the wealthy, by the way, comes from the word. It goes way back to an Anglo-Saxon word, I think. It was a halig, that means whole, and it's wealthy, wealth, and wholeness are really related. And so when we begin to feel this wholeness, what we're beginning to see is that this wholeness of each of us embraces everything. Every element that we can think of that is necessary for us to be able to experience life fully. So, naturally, that the more we feel wealthy, the more we feel whole, the more we are going to attract into our life whatever it is that we need in order to have a sense of full functioning. And that's a term that I like very much. All we have to do is to practice gratitude. Well, a little more than that, because the practice means sometimes more than just doing it. It means exercising a certain amount of discipline and believing in what we're doing. I want to talk about two kinds of practice of gratitude. The first is what I can call the ordinary, everyday, sort of standard brand practice of gratitude. And the other one is a little more esoteric. It's a little, what would you say, intangible kind of a practice. And let's look at the ordinary way. The ordinary kind of practice is the one that all of us are familiar with. You remember the old song that had that line in it that says, count your blessings? And that's good. And that's very true. And the more we count our blessings, just as I was talking to the kids over here today, the more we are acknowledging the good that is there. And we certainly want to do that. But what this really deals with, this kind of ordinary kind of gratitude, it spawns ideas of the material things, the material possessions in our life, the place that we have to live, the health that we have, our job, our family, our friends, our skills, our talents, all of these kinds of, and this is all wonderful, all of which are deserving of our gratitude. And this is the idea. Well, count your blessings. Look around in your life and see what you have to be grateful for. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's not only normal, it's very, very desirable, because it's a useful thing to do, because it's better than focusing your attention on what's lacking in your life. And it's acknowledging, rightfully so, the gifts that you already possess. That is very powerful, folks. But there's a deeper kind of gratitude that you might call the effective way, or the esoteric way, or what did I call it? The intangible way. And that is more holistic. That is more spiritually, I shouldn't say spiritually, everything is spiritually based. But I think you get the idea. It goes beyond just the material realm. It carries you beyond the level of everyday kind of functioning into your deeper gratitude practice. Now, this is a place that is independent of any person, place, thing, circumstances, or situations. Now, don't misunderstand me, this is not a mysterious, mystical, woo-woo kind of a place to be. You know, a lot of people come into these teachings of New Thought, religious science, unity, and the other, and they find, oh, wow, they do some weird things, and they talk about the mind, and the mind is going to be able to manipulate and control and do this, that, and the other thing. Well, that's not what we do. You don't come here to be able to go into a trance, and in that trance call upon some entity out there from the some guru doo-doo from the planet of fourth level of, And people love that sort of stuff. Make it mysterious and hokey. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other dimensions that we can deal with, but that's not what we deal with here. What we deal with here, rather than going into some kind of a trance, is to wake you up, get you out of the trance that you're in right now. And many of us are in a trance. Many of us, I had a teacher one time, a Sufi teacher years ago. He says 100% of the people are 100% hypnotized 100% of the time. Wow. That kind of includes a few, doesn't it? But it got our attention in this particular class. It was a weekend workshop, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then he came back and visited several times. But the idea is, until we are awake or willing to awaken to the truth of who we are, out of which we begin to see all the gifts and the wonder of life, we may very well be in some kind of a trance. We've talked enough about this at other times. I'm not going to start giving you examples. No, I'm not. That little voice, that's one of the things I have to be thankful about. When I get a thought and all of a sudden it says, oh yes, Richard, but what about that? And no. You stay there. Talk about kooky, huh? Anyway. This is this holistic or spiritual kind of a thing where we actually move beyond that material level that I'm talking about. It's not this mysterious, mystical sort of a plane. And I've talked recently about mysticism, which is probably the ideal for all of us to be able to experience, the mystical, intuitive state. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What we're talking about is reminding ourselves of the wonder of life. And as we remind ourselves to look about us and see it everywhere that we possibly can, it is to allow these feelings, these emergent feelings of gratitude to bubble to the surface in our own consciousness and acknowledge the wonder, the beauty of our everyday experiences and see it for what it really is, rather than just a temporary kind of an emotional response or expression. It's an underlying attitude that is really based in an appreciation of the self. It's the appreciation of the reality of who you are, of existence itself. You say, well, now, how do we do this? Well, by stopping and saying, I am grateful for this moment. I am grateful for who I am. That is one of the practices. When something comes into your life and it doesn't look good and it's upsetting you, if you can stop and move back, like a friend of mine used to do, and he'd say, well, I have a prayer partner. I've met with him for about 6 years. We try to meet every week. We have a breakfast and we talk about things. We pray together and we discuss, hey, what's going on in our life. And over the last year or so, he's been telling me more and more about a particular avenue that he's pursuing, and that is, this is really difficult, folks. I mean, it's hard to understand because it's deep, metaphysical, mystical stuff. He says, I just look at everything and say it's good. It's a pretty deep principle, isn't it? He says, I just look at it and I say it's good. And then I ask myself, regardless of what the circumstance or situation is, what is the gift in this for me? And he says, my life runs so well. He says, sometimes I feel guilty. I got to go out and mess up something so I can begin to feel like I'm my same old self. Jokingly, of course. But I think you get the idea. Remind yourself, whenever something comes up in your life that's not the way that you really would like for it to have been, say, what's the gift in this for me? This too is okay. It's got to be okay because you brought yourself there. Some of you might want to argue about that. Argue about it, but argue in your own mind. And in the meantime, examine your own life and your own responses to things. This little practice that I talked about the kids, reach in my pocket, feel the stone. Ah, yes, I'm grateful. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for you're there for you being out there so that I can express myself in the way that for so many years I sought and felt like I couldn't. You know, I was an engineer scientist, did research, basic research, for years in a national laboratory. And I loved doing it. It was great, but there was something missing. And I was never quite happy. There was always a hole in my soul. And then I found this, and I was moved to do it. And I started doing it. Does it mean it's always been hunky-dory? Not quite. It's had its ups and its downs. But I've never had the satisfaction of it. I feel my little rock, my little gratitude stone, and I say, thank you, thank you, thank you, that I found this aspect of myself that can be expressed in a way that is so satisfying. You know, I look across at my wife at breakfast table sometimes and I think, God, what a gift she is to me. I've been married twice before. And they were gifts to me, and they still are, because I'm still good friends with them. You know, it was 21 and a half years once, 20 years another time, and now I've been married for 9 years, and Marcia says, you owe me at least 11. 11 more. And I'm grateful for all of the experiences, because out of that, I got 2 wonderful children, and I got a couple of wonderful stepchildren. Actually, it was 4 stepchildren. You know, you add them all up. And what a family I have. What an experience I have. I'm grateful for all that. I could not possibly be the person that I am today, which I like. May not be all that I aspire to experiencing in life, but I like, without having gone through, to be other than I am now, or to discount that is to discount the very process that I've been in getting to where I am. Use these little practices. Use the gratitude journal. Get one of these little flip type of notebooks, spiral notebooks that are about 2.5 inches by 4 inches long, fits in your breast pocket. And every day when you wake up, write 4 or 5 things. I did this for the longest time. And when I really get down, I just start flipping through, looking at all the things that I had to be grateful for. And during the day, something popped into my mind for which I'm grateful, I'd write it down. It's a very, very supportive process for staying on top of this whole gratitude idea. The things for which we can be grateful are things at this other level. This transcendent level, this non-material level, are things like the freedom of choice that you have. That's incredible. You know, people can make you do things physically, but they can't control your thoughts. Your life. What a gift that is. How often do you say to yourself, I'm so grateful for life alone? As you're grateful for life, more life is given you. I don't understand this whole process of aging and dying. Some people say, well, it's all something that we bought into. Maybe so, but I'm willing to expect that, to respect that also. The universe and the whole creation is something for which we can be grateful. Our consciousness, the ability to be able to think. You know, like a little while ago, I was about to say something and there was something that whispered in my ear and said, shut up, Richard. Go on with what you were going to do. And well, that was another element of mind. And your mind, that higher level of your consciousness can watch your thinking and can prompt you. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And it can provide you with guidance. That's the mystical mind. Wow, what a thing to be thankful for. And what a thing to create more of or more access to in your life. And that's what your thanksgiving, that's what your gratitude is going to do in that instance. Do you know that your problems are really valuable to you? Problems lead to conflict, and conflict is that out of which most creation takes place. Think about it. So be grateful for the problems. Don't dwell in them, but use them to see what they mean in your challenges. This is what I'm talking about. How great it is to just exist. How great is this whole adventure in life? See, this is the place where you have no attachments to things, to person, places, things, outcomes, or results. That's this other domain that I'm talking about here. This is a place where you begin to emerge into a state of freedom, which really is a state of love. It opens you to be able to experience more of love. And consequently, as you begin to emerge into that, you find less and less are you controlled or manipulated by your own fears or any sense of loss or fear of change. And the stuff of life becomes the result of your enjoyment of life. Now get that. The stuff of life, all of the things out here, are the result of your enjoyment of life, not the cause of your enjoyment in life. This is a whole different way of relating to things. You know, the old idea that, well, as soon as I get this, that, or the other get the new car, find a new mate, do new house, have a new job and all that, then I'm going to be happy, then I'm going to enjoy. It's not that way. The more you begin to enjoy life, the more of all of the things that will support that enjoyment will show up in your life. And that's what we're talking about here. You see, the practical level of all of this is that it means that your gratitude becomes more unconditional. And as it becomes more unconditional, your life becomes more open to the good that is there. This is the place where the seeking of the kingdom of heaven, you know, in the Gospel of Matthew, I think it is, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, of God, in His righteousness, and all of these other things shall be added unto you. This is what happens. This is where you emerge actually into being able to experience through your seeking, through your gratitude. Not that you arrive there totally, because you'll never totally arrive at any place, because there's always more. Be grateful for the always more. But it is in that striving, in that seeking, that you find all the rest is added to you. I want to close with a very short quote that came out of, I think this comes out of Eric Butterworth's book, Spiritual Economics, and I didn't write down where I got it, where it says this: when we choose not to focus on what is missing from our lives, but are grateful for the abundance that's present, love, health, family, friends, work, joys of nature, and personal pursuits that bring us pleasure, then the wasteland of illusion falls away and we experience heaven on earth. Both abundance and lack exist simultaneously as parallel realities. Whew. It is always our conscious choice which of these secret gardens we will tend to. The choice is yours. Let's have a very short prayer, shall we? Because after this prayer, I'm going to invite somebody to come up here and have a little bit of, say a little bit to you. Allow yourself to become centered in the awareness of the vibrant reality of God, the only thing that there is out of which everything else has issued into expression. You know, in the beginning, all there was that, with a capital T. And that's what God is. And each of us is made in its image. And because of that, we right now are possessed of all of the attributes of this infinite something we call God. Spirit, the presence, the beauty, the love, the joy, the creativity, the intelligence, the harmony, the balance, the power, the very essence of all there is and more. These attributes and more are my attributes and more right now, for I am of God, in God, as God. And so is everyone else here. It is in the realization of that that we quicken an inner awareness and open ourselves to the flow of this universal energy, this universal power into every aspect of our lives. It energizes every fiber of our being, both physical and mental, and brings about balance and harmony. We are healed here and now. There is a wholeness, there is a completeness, and there is a perfection at the basis of everything. I declare that each of us is open to that wholeness, that completeness, that perfection, and accessible to it flowing in and through every area of our life. I truly am grateful for this. I accept it as so. I know that it is so. I allow it to be so.